There are many dads right now currently wondering whether they should quit their job. What do they fear most about quitting? What do they fear most about switching careers and making a massive shift in how they've been earning money? We're going to talk about that today. I welcome you back to Freelancing Dads. It's a podcast all for freelancing dads and who are trying to provide for their family. And they may not be freelancing yet, but they may want to or are considering it. And if you haven't already, be sure to subscribe to the YouTube channel and go to freelancingdads.com, where I have a free ebook that you can download. And there are other blog posts there and resources, and the show notes for this episode are on that website as well. Welcome to the podcast, Freelancing Dads, where we discuss how to help dad transition from his employee job to a freelance career at home so he can increase his income and spend more time with his family. And if you're already a freelancing parent, we'll help you grow your business to the next level. For any society to thrive, a strong family unit must be at the core of its structure. And dad being at home, earning more, and working less is what makes this a reality. Join us to learn how to build your business and family when they're under the same roof. Over 4 million people quit their job last month. They chose to leave. Where are they going? Well, so far, those who have done any data polling on it have found out that many of them don't have another job lined up. And either they have enough savings that they could live off for a while as they figure things out, or they are trying to go independent and attempt freelancing. They don't want to keep working for somebody else. They want to have more autonomy over how they work, when they work, flexibility in their schedule, flexibility in their income. Now, many of them probably don't realize the difficulties associated with starting your own business at home, that it doesn't just happen overnight, but it is well worth the journey. People are done, and it's not just single college grads in their 20s quitting their job who don't have a family yet to take care of, and maybe they can go back and live with their parents if they wanted to. These are people who have families to take care of, dads, providers, and they're leaving a stable job to go into the unknown. Why would they do that? I did another video that goes into some reasons why so many people have been quitting their jobs. And my video is called The Great Resignation, Why So Many People Are Quitting. And that is a term that many people are using right now to describe what's going on with all these people quitting, the Great Resignation. But in today's conversation, I want to focus mostly on what dads specifically fear about quitting and or about starting a freelance business and how to overcome some of those fears. So I would say the number one reason for having fear of quitting in the first place is that you don't know where you're going to go. You don't know how you're going to earn money to support your family. I mean, that would be my biggest fear. That was my biggest fear when I quit my job. I knew that I was going to attempt freelancing, but I had no idea how I was going to make that work. So you don't have another giant job lined up, and that, of course, makes perfect sense, that the unknown is causing anxiety. But it doesn't have to be that way. You can have your next career lined up before you quit. And I'm not talking about your next employee job. I'm talking about a freelance business that you can safely transition from an employee job to a freelance business without quitting right away, but doing some things on the side to start to build that up. And I go into that in other videos on how to start that transition. But today I wanted to just focus on some of the fears that we do deal with. Raising a family puts a lot of financial pressure on you. You want to see your kids have what they need. You want to see your wife have what she needs. And many have gone away from only one parent working because they simply can't afford to only have one parent working. And so I always wanted to earn money. But when I became a father for the first time in 2016, my desire for stable work grew substantially, and I felt even much more motivated. I had to figure out how to succeed in my career for my family's sake. And because my wife didn't want to have to work and she wanted to be able to stay at home, and that's what we wanted, it put even more pressure on me to make it happen. But I wanted to make it happen. It's not like I felt bitter about it. Now, I maybe set my sights a little too high at first, but I was determined to not only figure out how to earn money to support my family freelancing, but how to do that not working 40 hours a week. I wanted to set a limit for myself of 30 hours a week. And funny enough, now you have companies that are actually experimenting with 30-hour work weeks with their employees without dropping their pay. And it's actually working. And they realize that, wow, they actually get a lot done in 30 hours. That extra 10 hours is usually just fluff. It forces you to figure out better ways of doing things and doing things more efficiently. So I started freelancing the very same month that my first son was born. I was thrown into it because of getting let go from a company that was downsizing. Now, even though I had a lot of struggle for my first year, I figured it out, and I've been supporting my family well over $100,000 a year in income without my wife having to work and without having to go over 30 hours a week. And my average is actually 20 to 25. It was 30 at first until I built up enough income to be able to drop it down. Now, as a dad, I've experienced a lot of fear that I wouldn't be able to earn enough money for my kids to have decent clothes and food and all the basics. At first, I was worried about just providing the basics because I wasn't. We were sinking into tons of debt, and my wife had to use Christmas gift money just to buy clothes that she wanted. It's like the worst feeling ever. And my biggest fear, which I came to discover in my early days of freelancing, was really losing my family. That maybe if I couldn't provide for my wife and my kids, that they would abandon me. And I didn't realize that I had that fear until I really dug deep down. And that was really the core of what my fears were. And then I had a lot of surface fears above that. And even beneath that, I feared death. I think we all do. We all fear death really down deep in there. It all leads to that. We either fear being cast out or we fear death. Those things are really driving forces for us as humans. I feared being on the street with my kids. And I think underneath it all, we all have those same fears subconsciously, even though we don't realize it. And we have to face that fear in order to climb out of what's really holding us back. Because the fear wasn't helping me find success. It was actually handicapping me. So after many conversations with my wife, I was able to shift my perspective. And she committed to, and I made her aware of my fears, first of all, and she also helped me to even find deeper fears. And then she committed to always stay with me, even during when times are tough, as long as I am doing my best to try and support my family based on my current skill set. So even if we had to live in a tent, she would not abandon me if she saw that I cared and was trying. Yeah, so that really settled that fear I had about being abandoned. But I still didn't want that kind of life, right, where we're barely surviving, and they deserved more. My family deserved more, but not at the expense of losing me because of me working constantly. That's why I was determined to make it work without working a ton of hours every week and then never see Dad. So what are you fearing most as a dad? As a provider for your family, what are some fears that you're dealing with? That's something that you need to take some time to reflect on, because it is holding you back from making the shift that you need, from finding the success that you're looking for. Now, my purpose with this conversation today is not to persuade you to quit without any prospects, okay? There's a lot you can do on the side to get a freelance business going before you quit. You know, unless you have 6 to 12 months of expenses in your savings account, then I suggest keeping your job for now. But there are other videos, like I said, that I go into teaching you the first steps you need to take in order to start building up that freelance business on the side. So check that out on my YouTube channel. One was podcast episode 31. So check that out. And another was called Transitioning from Employee to Freelancer While Providing for Your Family. That's on my YouTube channel. Be sure to watch that. But I wanted to mention a few more fears that we tend to face. It's much easier to overcome the fears you have about changing your career to freelancing if you're open and honest with your wife on all of it. I know that sometimes as dads and husbands, we feel some shame associated with not being able to provide, and there's pride that comes along with that. And I know I felt it, and I hated not having enough money to buy my wife the clothes she wanted. But it was with all the discussions I had with her that I discovered what my true fears were underneath it all. And then she helped me to overcome those, because some of it was her reassurance, right? That she wouldn't leave me as long as I did my best. And, and if I just didn't care and I wasn't even trying, and, that would cause her to reconsider. But she knew that I was always trying my best based on the skills that I had. And the second thing for you to do is just journal through all of your fears. You've got to get it out of your head. Journaling is my go-to strategy for solving problems, for getting inspired, for figuring out my next steps, for overcoming fears. Get it all out on paper or on a computer document. I just use a computer because it's easier for me to type really quickly and get it all out, rather than having to slowly write, and I don't write very well anyways. But just getting it all out of your head will help you have clarity to know what to do next. I was able to start understanding the blocks I had and the fears I had too by getting all that surface stuff out of my head. It started to help me to dig down to the deeper layers of what was really going on. So if you have to wake up early, like I did a few times, like I actually do that regularly, where every so often I'll wake up at like 4 a.m. and it allows me to, when everything is super quiet. Normally I'll wake up at 5 to 5:30, but then occasionally I'll wake up even earlier than that, to really seek some inspiration and journal and just clear my head. Now, what you don't want to do is try and find clients in a new business out of desperation and out of fear, because it will make it a lot more difficult. You'll end up trying to cut corners financially with a client, or you'll desperately try to beg for their business. And even if you're not saying words like, please, please work for me, it comes across. They can hear it in your voice. They can see it in your messages. It comes out, your desperateness. I know that because I was there. And I was desperately trying to say yes to everything and get clients and beg for their business. And it really actually pushed most clients away. Now, one thing you need that I go into in my free book that you definitely should download on freelancingdads.com is you need a solid financial plan about your freelancing, about what it's going to look like and what the steps are and what your priorities are. And that will bring a lot of peace and take away a lot of the fear associated with quitting your job and starting a freelance business. So again, go and read more about that in my book. Overall, when it comes to being a dad, providing for your family on one income, there's a lot of pressure, but when you come together with your wife and set clear goals and priorities and have a solid financial plan for your career transition that is realistic but still stretching, the fear goes away and it dissolves. And when you have that solid plan and you do things in wisdom and order, so you have the right steps in the right order, the fear goes away. But you have to keep tweaking that plan along the way as well. It's not going to be perfect right away, but you just have to have something, and then you keep tweaking it and you keep perfecting it. Often we get the steps out of order when we're trying to achieve something, or we don't realize how many steps there are. And out of impatience, we try to skip steps. The best, my wife recently shared with me some image she saw on Instagram, and I don't have it. I don't know how to find it, but basically there was two people. It was just a stick figure image, and there were two ladders and two people, one on each ladder. And on one ladder, it had a normal amount of rungs on the ladder, where somebody could easily climb that ladder and they could go to the next rung and then climb all the way up. And then in the next one, there was a lot of rungs missing and huge gaps that the person had to try to reach to. And there was a lot that they couldn't reach to the next rung on the ladder. They couldn't reach to the next step because it was too far away. So they thought initially, the person on the left, that, if I just if I reduce the amount of steps to only like 3 or 4 steps, I'll get to my goal quicker. And then the person on the right side of the image was like, no, I need to do all the steps in the right order if I want to get my goal. Obviously, you can guess who won, who got to their goal first. It was the person who had a lot more steps, but they did things in the right order. And they weren't impatient. And it's those that are patient to go through all the steps that end up actually getting to their goal first. And the ones that don't often never get to their goal. They try to leap for it and then they fall and it's just a mess. So approach life like that. Approach your freelance business and your career transition like that, where you make sure that you map out all those steps and you keep realizing that there's more steps than you think. There's always more steps than you think. I've learned that over and over again with personal and business goals, and just be okay with that. So that's it for today. Journal out your fears, discuss them with your wife, realize there's a lot more steps than you think, make solid plans, and you'll be on your way to being able to quit your job at some point and start the type of career, the independent career that you really want, so that you can have the income you want for your family and the flexibility that you want for your family. Be sure to reach out anytime with questions on my website. There's an email right there you can send an email to. And be sure to comment on YouTube and let me know if there's certain topics that you want me to cover more often on this channel and also in my podcast. And I wish you a really great day.